When I was a young comic and I was making very little money, sometimes no money, my wife and I, girlfriend at the time, thought it would be a good idea to try to buy a house. I don't know what we were thinking, but we said, you know what, let's go get a mortgage. And we got all our paperwork in, and we thought we were going to get this mortgage and be homeowners, and then we got denied the mortgage. There's a level of disappointment I was very unfamiliar with. The only thing I had in my life that even compared to that is, you know when you take a great shower and you get really clean? Like the kind of shower that rejuvenates you, and you're like, I'm going to go take on the world right now. You get dressed, you're looking good, you're about to step out the door, and you're like, I got to take a shit now. It's that level of disappointment. Today on the show is a very funny comic, Kunal Arora, and he is here to give some advice on how to keep your financial house in order when you're making very little money. This is a bit too much. So no, but we only have the one, and we talk about it like, should we not? We just started sleeping better, and we still only wake up at 6 a.m.
Sure.
But that's sleeping.
Yeah.
We slept from, 10 to 6 maybe. That's not horrible.
I mean, 8 hours is great.
8 hours is great. I'm saying that also. A lot of times my wife has to go up there with her and stuff and like that. But it's like that first year, your eyes are bleeding. Like, I mean, your fucking head is on fire.
I get 4 hours of sleep, and I'm like, this isn't good.
Yeah. So now compound that night after night, where you start. I mean, sleep deprivation is a form of torture.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like it fucks with you, and you say shit to your spouse. My wife and I have always been very respectful of each other, not just because we love each other, but because we don't cross that line and name call.
Absolutely.
Or we didn't.
Yeah.
Like I'm still pretty good with it, but we saw each other break a few times where it was like, and the good thing is we were both good enough of recognizing it. Like, okay, I'm going to give you a few hours. Cause that,
sure.
What the fuck did you just say to me? My God.
Yeah, dude.
You're not the same person.
Yeah, when you do comedy, you can develop tactics on being a horrible human being.
Yeah.
And you can be so quick and nasty.
Oh God.
And it's just like, this is not a skill set. It's like, just because you learn how to box doesn't mean you bring it home. You know? Like, it's the same thing with verbal jousting.
Right.
You can't be verbal jousting the people you love.
No, and with everyone else in the world, when you're quicker than them and then they get upset because they said 40 things, but you said one fucking sharp thing, you're like, don't get mad because I'm better than you at this.
Yeah, that's not good either.
But you can't say that to your wife.
No, of course not.
You know what I mean? And nor do you want to.
You shouldn't say it really to anybody.
Nor do you want to, or do you even feel that. But like, that's exactly, you're like, you're going at each other and you're saying things you don't, and you forget about it.
I remember seeing a thing on National Geographic about like how they were talking about, like, it was this documentary series on the body, and there was a guy who was he was in a hot air balloon, and there was like some sort of weird malfunction, and he had to get up every few minutes to kind of work the system, so like as a way to get himself back down to the ground,
right,
without like the whole thing falling apart. I don't know how hot air balloons operate, but at one point, he had set an alarm to keep waking him up, and he was stuck up there for days, right? And so the thing is, but his body was so sleep deprived, and at one point the alarm goes off, and his body is trying so hard to get sleep, but it doesn't realize,
You're shutting down.
It's shutting down.
Yeah, you're shutting down.
And so the guy's in the sky,
right,
in a hot air balloon, right? And the alarm goes off, but his body is dying for sleep.
Right.
That he starts to get out of the hot air balloon like it's a bed. And
like he's just climbing over?
He's climbing over. He's got one leg out of the hot air balloon before he realizes, no, if I get out of this, I just fall. That's how
essential sleep is.
That's how essential sleep is. That is how strong the body can be. Like, like you hear those things about like, like a mother pinned up against a car.
Yeah, she moves it.
She's like moving it, or else her kid is going to get, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like there was a woman she'd fallen off a cliff, and it was bad, and she has like a broken leg. But then a slab of rock had landed on her.
Right.
And this slab of rock had to have been like 250 pounds. Mm-hmm. She goes, I don't bench like this. Anything.
Yeah, I don't bench.
Yeah, I bench like 25 pounds in each hand.
Right.
And she somehow because The Rock had her pinned at an angle and was sliding her down a cliff, and it was just to take her off the cliff, and she moved it off her.
Right.
Yeah, because that's what the human body does.
That's actually that rock as a metaphor for how you feel when you first become a parent.
Yeah, of course.
You're just being crushed by a rock.
This is what scares me so much about having a kid.
At the same time, man. Yeah. And at the same time, you're fucking stressed.
Yeah.
And you got financial stresses.
Of course.
And you've got is my kid safe stress?
Yeah.
You know, just all this shit, and you're sleep deprived, and then your kid. It's like it happens. It's almost like the kid has an instinct to do something fucking cute.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. It was like my third day as a dad, or home from the hospital, and it's like 3 a.m.
Right.
And I'm looking down at it. Now, I'm laid off from work at this point in my life.
Yeah.
I'm not working, and it's pandemic.
Right.
So there's no comedy. There's no other work I can do. There's no writing. There's nothing. And I'm just here, which was a blessing in a way because I got to spend all that time with my daughter. But I am so stressed about life. The financial stress is really in my head at that point. And I'm looking down at the schedule. I'm like, I got to do. No one's changing this horrible shit diaper right now. It's like black tar in the beginning, and like no one's changing this. No one's going to make that money.
Right.
No one's, and that's true of life in general. But when you're looking down at this little thing, she's like 9 pounds, and she's just like
completely defenseless.
She's making fucking crazy noises,
right?
And it stinks, and you got shit in your fingernails, and you're tired. You're so goddamn tired. And you don't even realize this is just the beginning of how tired you're going to be,
right? Because
they go through all these like sleep regressions,
yeah.
And you're looking down, and then like, I don't think it was a very intentional smirk, but it was something that resembled a smirk. And it just like, it gave levity to the whole fucking situation. It just reset my mind. And I'm like, all right, I got her. She needs me. I'm the dad. I got her.
Yeah.
And it just reset your mind. That's the mind fuck though, of being a parent. It's also the mind talking about not making a lot of money. It's also the mindset of like when you are in a, it doesn't have to be a parent to feel this. When you're in a financial stress,
sure.
You get those little wins. You're like, I could eat today. And it fucking lifts your spirits.
Right.
Because you start doing the math and you're like, I could do this again.
Yeah.
You know, that's stress.
If I keep coming back, I keep fighting in some which way. In my early 20s, I was so horrible with money.
Oh, yeah.
And I know this is like a common thing, but it's just like nobody, man.
Well, no one teaches
you. Yeah, and nobody in my family taught me about finances like that. Nobody taught me about like credit card debt. I was in credit card debt early on.
Yeah.
When I got out,
I was like 18 when I had credit.
Yeah, when I got out of college, my mom, she like presented me with a bill, and she goes, "This is how much you owe the school," and I go, "I thought you paid that." She goes, "No. I took out loans."
Yeah.
You pay that.
Yeah.
And I go, oh.
You know what tuition is? How do you think I paid that?
Yeah, I was like so beside myself.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I went to a state school. And she goes, yeah, because you couldn't get in anywhere else.
That's not finance.
Yeah, that's education. That's your problem.
That's UW.
Yeah, you're the idiot. And I go, oh. And like, I was so stupid. And I was like, and the thing is with me though, I try. My mom said this to me when like when I was reaching my 30s. She said this to me. She was like, and this is like the sweetest thing. It's also it felt a little backhanded at the time, but now I really take it as like a compliment.
Yeah.
She said, I don't need to worry about you. You'll find a way.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know what it is you'll do,
right?
But you'll do it.
I know you're just you. What you're made of.
Right. She goes, you'll find a way to scrap through whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
And it was like and I think that.
Are you doing stand up at this point?
At this point I am doing stand up, but it's just like, I'm not making it work.
No. I mean, you're starting.
So this is, and it ties into doing stand up. Like I was paying off my student loans.
Yeah.
Before I got like a corporate job. And before I did stand up, before I started stand up, I was paying off my student loans. I didn't have a job. I was selling everything I owned. Like I had stuff. I remember selling a 3 megapixel camera Like now that's like worth nothing.
3 megapixels.
Dude, that's trash.
Your phone will audibly laugh at your.
Oh, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
That's fine.
I could take a better picture off with a rock. Like it's just crazy.
I sketched this at a higher.
Yeah, right. I could sketch. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
So it's just like all of that stuff. I'm selling everything I own to pay off these student loans.
Yeah, right.
To make this $200 payment a month.
Well, your parents are immigrants. I think you have a scrappiness about you when that happens.
Right, absolutely.
But again, you don't have the real financial lessons.
Right.
Like it's really just about making money it's about paying the bills and being all right.
In the moment.
In the moment. Do I make enough to clear these bills?
This month.
Yeah, this month.
Every month to me was like, do I make enough? And then my buddy, man, it's just who you know. My buddy hooked me up with a corporate job.
Right.
And I worked at New York Life.
Oh, wow.
I worked in the complaint review unit. My job was to review complaints.
Like written complaints.
Written, email, texted, on Facebook. Are you
responding at all? You're just reviewing them.
My job,
filtering.
Basically, I was the guy that would filter the complaints to the people that would handle. They would respond personally to each of these complaints.
Yeah.
We handled complaints from customers, and when you work in a massive company like that, they come in.
Yeah.
They're coming in.
Sure.
And it's just all sorts of slew of complaints. Like some of them were so sad. And it's just like, this is the stuff we had to deal with. And I worked this job and I started stand up at this time. And I'm like 3 years into this corporate job.
Right.
And they were like, and they're looking at me and they know I don't want this.
Right.
They're looking at me and like, this guy doesn't want.
Do you also, I mean, you probably know, but are you weighing the options at this point? Like, should I stay doing this for longer? Well, or do you know you're out?
I got really, really lucky. I got really lucky here because they looked at me and they were like, listen, man, we're getting rid of your job. So this is your option. You could either take the Series 7 and you can, we'll give you a new title. We'll increase your pay by 40%. I mean, it was
take the Series 7, right?
Take the Series 7, and I'm like, what's the other option? The other option's like you're out of a job.
That's not easy to do, to take the Series 7, right?
Like, you got to study for that. That's like and as a guy, even though I am Indian, I am horrible at academics.
Right.
Yeah, I was a C student across the board.
Right.
You know,
you come off like one.
What's up?
You come off like one.
Yeah.
You don't come off stereotypical in any way.
Yeah, dude, that's true, bro. You're right.
As a comic, because I know you in one capacity. And fairly recent past few years.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're a fucking funny dude, man.
Yeah, and I love how you're like, and educated is not one of those things. Yeah. No,
well,
you're right.
I'm not saying you don't know some shit.
Sure. But
like tradition, and believe me, same boat.
Of course.
Also not surprising.
Yeah. So it's just
really,
like
you fucking Goomba.
Yeah, I'm a goon, dude. I'm a straight up goon.
You're from Queens.
Yeah, that's what it is. Goon. Yeah. So, and I'm sitting there and I'm weighing the options. I'm like, do I go from making 45 grand to 80,000 a year?
Yeah.
Or do I get laid off?
Right.
And I'm doing comedy for 3 years. My girlfriend at the time is like, take the Series 7. She's like,
dude, I had the same thing, man.
She's like, you're a comedian. You make $50 a month.
Right.
You're not even that funny.
You know,
and she was a comic.
Oh, she's a comic too.
Yeah.
Oh, see, that changes things a little bit.
And she's coming. She's right.
Yeah.
She's right.
Well, right in the sense that was the only way you were going to make a decent amount of money in that moment of
in that moment.
Because 3 years is nothing in comedy.
Nothing.
It's not. You don't know who you are.
Nothing.
In the first 3 years.
My brother is like, take the Series 7.
Yeah.
My mom is like, take the Series 7.
Right.
She's like, I don't even know what the Series 7 is. Take it.
Take it. I heard $40,000 more.
My mom's like, take the Series 8, 9, and 10. Don't stop taking this.
Go to the World Series. I don't give a shit. What the fuck do you have?
The fact that they told you to skip 1 through 6 is crazy. Take just the 7. And I go, all right. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, what are the other options? Though?
Yeah.
They go, you get laid off. And I'm like, unemployment? They're like, yeah. And then a coworker asked, he's like, ask if there's severance.
Yeah.
So they hit me with, and I go, do I get severance? And they're like, yeah.
Like good severance.
8 months.
8 months is a lot.
That's
for
a lot
only being there for
a few years. Yeah. They hit me with that, and I go,
yeah,
I'm out.
Yep.
I left the job. I said, I'm not going to do it. I said,
that affords you enough time to figure it out.
Yeah. And
at 45K, right? That's what
you're saying? I mean, I got 8 months of salary. I got unemployment. And I'm going to tell you right now, dude, I took a leap on me.
Yeah.
And I failed miserably.
Yeah, but when you do this, then you have to at some point.
Yeah,
and it's gonna fucking hurt.
Oh yeah, it is. But it's just like, I think learning about finances. If you gotta figure it out. You gotta look it up on YouTube.
Right.
Whatever you gotta do, figure it out, because I blew through that there's only a couple redeeming things I did with that severance. I paid off the rest of my student loans.
There you go.
Which was the smart move.
Absolutely.
I bought a brand new computer. Didn't necessarily need one. I helped paid for my mom's 60th birthday party. We had like a party, and I felt like such a G.
Yeah.
Because I had that money.
Right.
And that's such like dumb Queens mentality.
Oh, it so is, dude.
Yeah, and I just go, I'm gonna take it. My brother is like making money. He can do it. And it's just like, and I blew all that money, and I drank the rest away.
Yeah. And you're 20 what?
I'm 25, 26. Yeah. Like maybe 28.
Yeah.
Even so, I had no understanding of finances. I blew all that money. I got evicted. I had to move back into my mom's house. Right. My relationship fell apart. And I was like, oh, this is, and I was in, and then I went into debt.
Did she say, who became your ex say, I told you?
No, she was, man, she had so much integrity.
Yeah.
I lucked out dating a really, really intelligent woman, you know? And so I lucked out there, and I fucked up the relationship. I could take ownership on that.
Right.
I could have been a lot better, but I'm young and stupid.
Right.
I go into debt. I borrow money from my friends. I'm like doing that.
Yep.
And it's just like, and
then every time you hang out with them, it's like, doesn't mean that they're going to necessarily throw it in your face, but you're going to feel it. You feel it. Even if they're good about it.
Even if they're good about it, you feel it.
Yeah. You owe someone
when
money.
You get a couple extra beers.
Yeah.
You feel it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You stop hanging out with them.
Yeah, you avoid that. I got shit. You're unemployed. Yeah, they know you.
Yeah, don't feel weird.
Yeah.
My friend was like the kind of guy, and when I paid him back,
Bronx Tale, that scene in the Bronx where the guy runs after the other guy like this with his arms.
When I got dodging him. Yeah, dude. When I got the money, when I paid him back, he was just like, I gave him the money. He goes, I didn't even need the money, and I go, you son of a bitch, don't say this to me. Don't say this to me.
Yeah, it was nothing.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but to me, and then I ended up getting a job that I worked in high school. Mm-hmm. I went back post college to work here. It was a microscope repair company.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, I know.
That sounds ancient.
That does, right.
That was just like you told me you were a shoemaker.
I know, right? Yeah. Bro, I became a cobbler.
Anything repair. Like when you just hear someone's repairing something with little screws and
Yeah. It was, and I lucked out, man. It's just like, it's one of the biggest things that I just try to tell people when they're doing anything that they're doing. I'm like, you make sure your finances are in order.
Yeah, man.
That's it. You can't put that situation on people. When people are doing comedy, specifically with stand-up, like they'll be like, oh, and they just moved to the city. And they'll be like, you got any advice? And I go, get your house in order.
Yeah.
Do not be in debt.
But they're working free shows, and they are maybe waiting tables.
Yeah.
So it's really also not enough money.
Yeah, it's not. But don't live in a bad situation.
Right.
Like
there's moves you can make.
Yeah, there's moves. Like make sure your house is in order, and I mean that just like you can't be living in a place where you hate the roommates. You're living in squalor.
Oh, it's gonna put you farther into that hole.
Yeah, dude.
You mentioned an ex. When I started doing stand up, I was dating this girl that. She's a few years older than me. Mm-hmm. She's a teacher.
Yeah.
So she is like, get it together.
Right.
You're Italian, do construction. Mm-hmm. It really was that. It was like, my cousin, my uncle, this person, someone gonna hook you up with a job. And I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Now, I did get a corporate job, but I got it in advertising, and I felt like a little bit of a creative outlet.
Yeah.
Because I was a creative director and I was making ads, and it certainly doesn't fill the void creatively.
Sure.
But it gives you more than like being an accountant does.
Yeah.
It gives you more than that. And actually it was detrimental to me for a while because it gave me enough.
I think corporate jobs
that kept you in.
That's the thing. That's the thing. If it's slightly creative,
Yeah.
It's just enough juice.
It's just enough juice to every once in a while, once a year, you've got a really cool thing you did.
Yeah.
Oh, I won like this advertising award because I made this cool ad.
I was saying this. I was talking to a friend about this recently, and we were talking about like whatever a corporation will do to keep you.
Yeah.
They're these things that exist and usually it's the money.
Right.
It's the money that's first. Then there's the insurance and the comfortability of that.
Yeah.
The benefits.
Right.
Right. Then there's other stuff. If there's like a slight creative outlet,
right.
It's just giving you enough of the drug to keep you there.
Just enough. And I'm doing stand up at this point, just not as much. So
and then
like, I have
other
a little
thing,
bit of both.
The other thing to me that kept me at the corporation at a corporate job is if there's cute people to talk to.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
If there's good looking people in the office,
makes the day go by.
Yeah, it makes
sure.
the day go by so much better.
I met my wife working in radio.
Yeah.
That's how I met her, flirting with her.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Working in radio.
The amount of people I would flirt with in the office, it's like, man, I'm not working 8 hours.
Dude, and it was so exciting. I started dating her and it was a secret. We didn't want to tell anyone.
Yeah.
We were in 2 different departments.
Yeah.
And it was like, we were like, oh, let's meet over here. And I'm spending all my money on our meals.
Of course.
I'm making no money.
Yeah.
I think at this point I'm making $30,000.
Right.
And
but how good is that? Is that rush though?
When I started that, I was making like 18.
Yeah.
Because people made that at some point, in corporate jobs even.
Of course.
And so I'm making like $30,000. I'm really struggling financially.
Yeah.
But I'm saving up and we're going. And this is my food mentality where it takes over everything.
Yeah.
I'm not just going to have an indulgent meal. I saved up. We went to Nobu.
Yeah.
The fuck was I going to Nobu at 20?
You got to impress a girl, dude.
Right.
You got to impress a girl.
Yeah. So we're friends. Then eventually she's out of a relationship. We're together.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, oh, now I got to turn up the heat because I've been good baseline friend.
Yeah.
Now when I was really
friend
young,
on the side, huh?
When I was really young, I always got stuck in friend zone. As I got older, I learned how to turn friend. I learned when to be assertive enough to when to make the turn. You could still do friend, but you got to not be too good of a friend. Yeah. And then you got to be ready to make the move.
Yes. Yeah.
You have to be a good friend who has their own life.
They always, a lot of guys talk smack about the dude on the side that's like, oh, they're just waiting for their turn.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, they are.
Dude, and then I started dating her, and there was a bunch of people who were like, I don't know if that's going to work out. They were waiting their turn.
Yeah.
People I worked with were like, okay, now if that ends, maybe I can.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
There's some guys who are just off to the side. That's how they operate.
That's right.
Okay? You know what I mean? That's their function. Are they gonna, now listen, are there scummy dudes that are going to try to pull some moves while the person's in a relationship?
Yeah, right.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. But are there guys that are going to respectfully wait by the side?
Right.
I respect those guys.
Just enough distance.
Didn't
cross the line.
Yeah, they're not going to be wild about it, but that's how they make the move. Some dudes walk in point blank. They'll approach a woman. They'll be like, you, me,
crazy
Fucktown
confidence.
USA. We're going there.
Yeah.
And some guys wait by the side. They got the binoculars.
Right.
And they're like, it's not my time yet.
Yeah.
It's not my time
Look,
yet.
I know at that point in my life, dating-wise, I'm not a headliner.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? But I could maybe MC.
But
I could
feature the hell out of this.
I'll feature the fuck out of this.
Yeah, I'll do some work.
Yeah,
dude.
I'm going to be hard to follow.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I respect it. I respect the guy that plays their position.
And then, because I have no money, we're working in radio. We're living off of what's called trade. So we have gift certificates that they're giving us. The company's like, you could have some gifts. You could go eat at John's Pizzeria in Times Square. It was it's a spinoff of the very famous downtown John's, right?
Right.
And you're like, oh, wow, we get to go eat tonight. I don't have to spend the money. And we lived like that for a few years. We lived in this. So my wife grew up in Staten Island, and I grew up I was born in Bushwick, grew up in Queens mostly. And then I had to go behind enemy lines to get her out because that's what happens in Staten Island.
Yeah, of course.
I had to move there to get her out.
Right.
So I had, because and at the time I am doing more stand up and I am working hard and I'm not home as much. I'm like, she's at least near friends and family. Right. So that's a mentality.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just a bitch. Yeah. And so, maybe it's also like
because you're worried too. Because there's always another guy. There's always that other guy.
I'm like, I think I could do okay here on this block.
Right.
There's no one that attractive on this block.
Yeah. You're not surveying the neighborhood for crime. You're just surveying the area for good-looking dudes.
Yeah, like you know how they have those like sex offender websites with the dots pop up?
Yeah.
I need a fucking hot finder.
Yeah. All right. This dude. Yeah, he's holding a knife. I mean, he's not gonna. He won't date her. Right. He might murder her, sure. Yeah,
but then I get to mourn, and then like,
and that's kind of nice too.
That's kind of nice. I get more attention.
Right.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. God.
And so we're going out on like no money, and we do this for years, and we're in a small ass apartment in Staten Island,
right?
And we are. I mean, it's like basically a studio apartment, but it did have a bedroom, but it was like set up like a studio apartment. It was just one big room and then a bedroom.
Yeah.
And this is now 2012. Hurricane Sandy hits. We have 0 to our names. We filled this apartment with a TV, an entertainment center, a bed. The fridge came with the apartment, and some of the photos. That's literally what we had. And the fucking hurricane came through, and 5 feet of water surged through our apartment and destroyed the little we had.
Jeez.
So we're struggling every day before that. And now we're like, we have this really sobering moment where we go back to, because we left, we evacuated, went back to look at the apartment and realized nothing survived.
Right.
Clothes are gone.
Wow. Yeah.
Some were washable, but really not, because it came through like a baseball field. So it took all this dirt over with it and it just destroyed the apartment.
Right.
Ripped the wall through from the garage, because we were on like a basement level or a main level, like attached to a garage.
Yeah, man, basement apartments, first floor apartments. Yeah. It's always chancy. I lived in a 5th floor walk up in the East Village, before I got evicted.
Yeah.
And during, I think it might have been Katrina.
Yeah.
When was Katrina? I don't even.
2016?
Yeah, I think it was 2016. Or might have been Sandy. I think it might have been because Sandy was earlier.
Yeah, 2012.
Yeah, it was Sandy, and I ended up getting and the entire first floor of the apartment was just ruined. I was on a 5th floor walkabout, it was fine.
Our apartment was on the other wall of a garage that they cut in half.
Yeah.
So we were in the garage that they made into an apartment.
Right.
So when it went through under the garage door, it ripped the wall up from beneath. My refrigerator was like in my bedroom. It somehow floated into my bedroom.
Yeah.
So we are now down and out. We are essentially homeless, and I don't want to really say homeless because we did stay with someone, but we are out of our home.
And
out of all of our
You're
stuff.
unhoused.
Yeah, we are unhoused.
Yeah.
I did what all Italians do. I'm like, Mom.
Yeah, of course.
I called my mom.
Yeah.
She's in a small apartment at this point.
Indians do the same thing, man.
She's pretty newly divorced because she got divorced later. So she's in an apartment. We are now, luckily it was a 2-bedroom apartment.
Right.
So my girlfriend at the time and I go and take that room, and we are in it is the most depressing thing in the world. Now, this young woman, who's soon to be will be not soon, actually.
How many years into the relationship are you at this point?
We are 14 years in, 7 married.
Okay.
2000. No, wait. That's not correct. 2010. 2010, and then 7 years later we got married.
Okay.
Because we were poor for all that time.
Right.
I remember asking her dad, I'm like, doing the traditional, ask your daughter's hand in marriage.
Yeah. Can I get a hand in marriage? Can I also get my hand in your wallet?
Yeah. Can you help me a little bit?
Yeah, right.
And I went, and then I realized I couldn't afford the ring. That's how dumb I was about money, was that I was ready mentally to get married.
Right.
And I'm ready to go shop for a ring. And when they told me what the price was, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Wait, that's how much it is? And there's no there was some finance plans, but my credit was really bad at this point in my life. I had to repair that shit. Yeah. And so I got turned down for the credit line. And that is there's a few of those moments you have in your life where you think things might look up and you can figure it out, and then you either get turned down for something or
you gotta, man, if you're not getting yourself plugged into the system of finances, you're doing yourself a disservice. Whenever but
no one even said those words.
Right.
Those are words I had not heard for years to come.
Yeah. Right. I think about people that don't mess with credit.
Yeah.
It's like when somebody pulls out a debit card.
Yeah.
To pay for something,
right?
A friend of mine brought that up. She was like, she's like, somebody pulled out a debit card, and when I see people pull out debit cards, I go, they're not building credit.
Yeah, right.
And if you're not building credit,
that's spending cash. That's all.
Yeah, if you say stuff like, "Oh, I don't trust credit card companies," what you're saying is you don't trust yourself.
Right, because it's a pretty standard agreement.
Yeah, it's a pretty don't overspend.
Right.
But the thing is, you can't trust yourself.
I heard a lot of that distrust of institutions from
people that are bad with money.
But I heard a lot of it even from my family because they just also were like the cash runs in the mattress.
Which is insane.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
I am now in my 20s and I'm cry in the shower poor.
Right.
You know what I mean? Sometimes I'm just like, my life fucking sucks and I collapse.
When you have money that is when it's just like money that's sitting in a savings account.
Yeah.
And it's not doing anything. It's stupid.
Dude, I did that.
I learned that like a few years ago.
Yeah.
I'm 39 and I learned that your money shouldn't just be sitting in a regular ass savings account.
There was a moment of my wife and I getting married where her dad, who's a very smart guy, was like, "You guys got to do more," and told us some stuff. And we did a little bit more. We didn't really even fully take his advice because we still weren't making enough money.
Right.
And then when we had our kid, all of a sudden we're like, life insurance, and now we're doing, now we're like looking to buy the house, and we eventually did, and we are like, it's scary.
Yeah.
Now I had been turned down for a mortgage like years back.
Right.
That is a depressing fucking moment.
I mean, I've never even applied, really.
Dude, you go in for a mortgage because you're thinking, okay, I know my credit's not great. But people get loans. They don't, though. That you think they do. You think everyone gets loans.
During the housing crisis, a lot of people got loans.
Yeah.
They had no business.
Sure.
Yeah,
This is a bit later.
Yeah, of course.
And that's what you're thinking. Like, I could get a loan. And we got turned down. And it is like the most demoralizing. It's like you feel great going in because you think you're getting it.
Yeah.
And then you walk out and you're not even talking to each other.
I don't even know what it's based off of. You know what I mean?
Credit,
I don't know what
your income, your credit.
Yeah, but it's right. And then there's a
combination of.
There's also a lot of talk about how I think in Europe they do this where it's like there's a social credit that they're working on where it's like the people,
like social media credit.
like the people
Yeah.
it'll allow them to understand how much access to money you have.
Like if you had to borrow independently.
Yeah, if you had to borrow independently. Like I know people that are dumb rich.
That I don't think would ever happen here.
You don't think that would happen here? You don't think a social credit score could never happen here?
I mean, I understand it, but I feel like
what about guarantors? Isn't that the same thing?
Well, it is, but that is on paper. So this social credit you're getting, are they assessing, maybe I don't understand it. They're assessing people in your life that you're putting down on paper as like
not putting down on paper, but like
that's the difference to me.
Yeah, but it's just like, let's say I know 3 people that are doing well financially.
Yeah.
So then it's just like if I want to let this guy borrow $10,000, it would be I know he'd be able to pay me back because he has access to these people.
Right.
You know?
Right.
He can't put them down on paper as references.
You tell them the story, you're like, I've borrowed money before.
Yeah, right. I mean, I've said right now in this podcast I've borrowed money.
I'm okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know you're okay. I'm just saying that, like, I think about that as just like, and then we have guarantors, right? Yeah. Like when you look for an apartment. So that's like on paper.
That's contractual.
But that's contractual. But it's just like when you know people that are rich, I think in a credit card's best interest, it'd be like
because they can get paid.
It's like they can get paid, so it's you would ask the person to do it, you know. And it's like that's my point. Is like you got to be a couple steps ahead of like if money scares you,
right?
You're in a bad place.
Yeah,
you're in a real bad place.
Don't you think it scares most people?
Yeah,
it scares most people.
Yeah, it scares, and I think there are parts of money that scare me that I'm not even aware of, you know.
Yeah, well, you also, if you're scrappy for so many years, that shit doesn't leave you. It's like childhood trauma in a way.
Yeah.
It really doesn't leave you, and you then just think, I could lose this any moment.
Yeah.
It still fucks with you. It still stresses you out.
But then there's also that like area that's just like, there's the, that's survival mode.
Right.
And I always think about survival mode a lot now.
Yeah.
Because I grew up in survival mode.
Yeah.
And it's just like, all right, we're getting by, we're making it. And like, because like the first apartment me and my girl moved into,
right,
we had like a couple roaches,
right,
you know, and like maybe one a month. To her, we were living in squalor.
Right. You know what's so funny about that? Yeah. Roaches don't Bugs don't bother me.
No.
Rodents bother me.
I grew up with rats.
Right. Like,
I grew up.
like a rodent will still bother me.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't happy about it.
But
I wasn't
but
I wasn't like, oh, Peter. Like, I wasn't like that. But like, we had rats in our apartment.
Right.
Growing up in Flushing. Like, I remember my dad, we're at the foot of the bed. We're on the floor watching a movie.
Yeah.
My dad and mom are in the bed. TV, the lights are off. We're watching this movie. I see something around the corner, like shuddering and flickering off. Like, it just seems like motion is happening.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying anything because I don't want to like disrupt the chill. Because like everyone's like quiet and no one's yelling.
I'm probably seeing something right now.
Yeah, and I'm like, something is happening. Eventually I say something and my dad like turns on the light and it was a rat on a glue trap.
Oh, was it screaming?
No, it wasn't
screaming a lot of times.
Yeah, usually, but it was trying to get off.
Little fat rat.
Yeah, a little fat rat. My dad looked at it, opened the window, picked up the rat and just frisbeed it out of there.
Fucking probably hit someone.
It hit a tree.
Landed on someone's car.
I mean, there's like a patch of dirt down there.
Right.
And it landed on the ground. You just heard it scream. And then my dad closed the window and just turned the movie back on.
Yeah.
He honestly, it was the most insane thing. And I'm like, this is like, so for me, my girl, us seeing a roach a month.
Yeah.
But that is all that to say is that is survival mode.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm going to deal with this. You're not looking to move, even though it's making you uncomfortable.
And you got to make the transition at some point to thrive mode.
Right.
You know?
Right.
It's like,
how do you get out from under it if you're just not making enough?
Yeah. You know?
That's what happens.
That's what I'm approaching right now. I'm like, I need to get into thrive mode.
Right.
Survival is just, you can't live like this.
Right.
You know, you shouldn't be scared. Like these things, man, they scare everybody.
Household incomes just have to be so much higher than they used to be, though. Household incomes, they just have to be so much higher than they used to have to be. You know,
did they though? Well, I don't.
Now, in terms of like the ratio to cost of living,
right. Like my parents now. I was doing this. I was talking to my parents about my mom. I was like, "What did you make when you were my age?" And she told me she made like $35,000 a year.
Yeah,
you know. Both her and my dad, I think their combined income with that all in all was like $80,000 a year. Right. In Queens in the 90s. Yeah. And I was like, I did the math of inflation and
it evens out a bit.
No, I mean, me and my girl still make far, far less.
Yeah.
Because she's in the creative field, so am I. Right. You know, she's a theater director, so she makes garbage money. And I'm a comic and I make garbage money. But I think today my parents would be making $150,000. Right. And that gets you by the cost of living by today's standards.
By today's standards, but then
in New York City, I mean.
But then you've got like little then if something happens, right? And this was true years ago, but like if something happens and we go through like a recession, or a depression, or any of those things, all of a sudden the jobs are still hiring at the same rates. And even laying off, right? And then the cost of living could gas could go up at $2. Yeah, you know what I mean. So it's like almost not enough because it feels like these things happen all the time now.
Yeah, there's a band that I like called Spanish Love Songs. They got this one song. It's called Losers 2. The guy goes, "The cost of living is the cost of staying alive." Right. And I go, geez, that's depressing.
That's depressing.
And that's
that
the truth
is what
of
it is for a lot of fucking people, man.
Yeah.
You know, and I look at it with my kid and I'm like, how am I going to set up enough? We could save some. But how am I going to set up enough?
Well, it really becomes like, and this is the other thing too. I saw this off of TikTok, which is so sad.
But finance advice.
Yeah, financial advice. Yeah. I got from like a TikTok video.
Yeah.
Where a guy's like, don't leave your kids the house. You got to build an estate planning. Right. You have to establish an estate. So it's like, and the reason why is for gains tax. Right. So let's say you bought your house at $100,000. Yeah. Right. And then if your kid sells the house, they're going to be taxed at the rate that the house that it is at the current value.
The current value.
Yeah, but if it's in an estate and they sell the house, they would be taxed at the rate of it being $100,000. Right. So that's so much money.
Yeah. You know what's funny though is like, so as you get older and you start to understand these things and you come across them, they start logically making sense to you, and you then look into how to do that. Right. But there is a point, even if somebody said these exact words to you, would you have listened to any of it?
When I was early 20s.
When you're like what we were talking about before, and you're like early mid 20s.
Yeah, no.
You're still just like, I want pizza.
Right. Yeah.
You know
how many people, man, the amount of people that were around me in my early 20s that were saying, buy Bitcoin.
Right. Yeah.
There was a guy that I remember, he was like, yeah, man, just buy some Bitcoin. I go, dude, I don't have $100. He goes, just spend 20.
Yeah, then all my money's in Bitcoin if I spend $100.
Yeah, I don't even have that. He's like, just spend $20 on Bitcoin. Right. It's $5 a coin. And I go, man, I don't have $20 to spare.
Right.
And meanwhile, then it became 60,000 a coin.
Yeah.
If that means if I'd bought 4 Bitcoins, I'd have $250,000.
It's not fucking infuriating.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
But it's just like, and that's, man, whoever's listening out there.
A bunch of people got lucky. A bunch of people really took a risk because a friend told them to do it.
Yeah.
Somebody did what that person said to you and was like, all right, $20.
Yeah, but it's like if you can put away that 20.
Yeah.
Put away that however you can. I was talking to my buddy from college the other day, and we're chatting it up, and he goes, and we're talking about like spending money and stuff like that. And I go, you know what, dude? You know what's sexy to me now? And he goes, what's up? And he goes, putting money in a Roth IRA.
Oof.
And he goes, yeah, dude.
Yeah,
dude. And he got it. He got it, right?
Because you get the same thrill that you used to get off of material things.
Yeah.
Because you know what it's going to do for you.
Mm-hmm. That retirement. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because you also are like, you have those days where you're just like, oh, God damn it, this is a fucking grind. Whatever you're doing, stand-up's a grind, right?
Right.
Stand-up's a grind. Creative endeavors are a grind.
Yeah.
And you make shit money and you go, and then if you get over a little hump, even if it's momentarily, you go, oh my God, this feels so good. My mentality always goes like, it's going to go away.
Right. My girl started like opening up like IRAs and stuff that, Roth IRAs. She said to me, and she did like a few years ago, and she said, if I had just started this in my early 20s, and if I put even a fifth of what I put in now,
right,
and a fifth would have been nothing because I drank most of that.
Right.
Easily on a Friday, I could drink most of it and still be blackout drunk.
Yeah. Right.
And that's like my one thing is like early 20s, start that thing now.
Right.
You're not going to feel it.
You're not going to feel it if you're literally putting like $20 in.
$20. Yeah.
Right.
It will make the world's difference.
It is such a revolving story though, because when you're young, you don't want to hear that shit. Like you don't want to hear anything. You want to hear relationship advice. No. You don't want to hear financial advice. You don't want to hear career advice.
Yeah. Because you're young, dumb, full of cum. You're like, I got it.
I mean, how many? You said you had an ex who was like, take the Series 7.
Right.
Yeah. And you're like, no, I'm a comic.
And I got lucky in the way that like I ended up doing a bunch of college gigs. So I did that. But that, the amount of times I had to go back and get a job before I started to make an actual living at stand up. That was how many years in? I was 3 years in at that point. It would take another 8 years for me to finally make a living at stand-up comedy.
Right.
However, if I had done that job that was now $80,000 a year, and if I kept that for another, let's just say 5, that would be, 8 times 5 is 40,000. Maybe I have an extra.
Yeah, but at the same time,
wait, that's not the right math. But the point is like 80,000.
I didn't even check you on that. I was so bad at math.
40,000. I would have an extra $400,000.
Right, but at the same time,
before taxes,
that sets you on a completely different trajectory.
Sure,
that is a different life,
of course.
That takes away another part of your life that you have now.
Absolutely, 100%.
That is like part of you.
That is the gamble. We're all gambling, man.
Yeah,
we're all gambling, and it's just like I still think, and even though we're all gambling, I still think that. If that's my advice is like, if you can just put $100 in, and that's one of the things I remember seeing, from like a friend of mine, she would put some money in her pocket if she's gambling, and she's like, I'm going to put $100 that I came in with. I'm gonna put this.
That sounds very Italian.
Yeah, I'm gonna put
that's money under the mattress.
Yeah, I'm gonna put that back in my pocket. And everything here, if I lose it, I'll be fine.
Right. Yeah. Now I'm playing with the
house money. Right. Always got to play with house money.
I think I'm gonna name this episode or this show for one episode only.
Yeah,
hardball or something.
Hardball.
Deep.
Yeah, that's also one advice. I've always gotten that advice. Always play with house money.
Always play with house money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's also getting there.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, which is a little bit of if you want to use the gambling terminology, it's a little bit of striking luck. Yeah. I'll do just one more thing before we wrap up. I grew up in like a facade of having money. I thought my parents had some money
because they're trying to save face.
Right.
We're all
the shame thing that we've talked about. Mm-hmm. The thing where you're like, that everyone in the neighborhood's got there's other people here doing well. Mm-hmm. I've got to be, or at least doing better than what I'm doing. But
kids don't even really understand being poor.
Yeah, right.
Truly, they really don't even get it.
It's just what you have. It's just what you do.
Right.
Yeah, if you're eating just like buttered bread every day, you're just like, I fucking grew up eating buttered bread.
That's what it is.
It's a great snack.
Yeah, that's extremely what it, like, you don't know. Like, we grew up in low middle class.
Right.
I can't ever say we grew up poor. It just doesn't feel, to be honest, when I was younger, I thought we were upper middle class.
I think that my family had an appearance of middle class.
Yeah.
And they really weren't. When I now learn what they were making and how much of it just got thrown away.
Razor's edge.
I mean, they were not doing it. They appeared to be doing it. They never owned a home. They rented out of another family member's house. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even know they didn't own the home for years.
Of course, yeah.
I just was like, this is a pretty nice
My parents owning that apartment that they owned, I was like, and then, I mean, eventually we lost it. But like when they did that, I was like, that's nuts. Because there are people that I know that still live in that building that are still renting.
Right.
And I go, that is wild behavior.
Yeah.
But it's about securing, you know what I mean? Put it away. Put it away. Yeah. No.
All right, man. Let's wrap it up.
Sure.
Do your plugs.
You can check out stuff that I put online at All Day KCA. It's, across the board, stuff like that, shows, stand up, all sorts of fun stuff.
No, my dude. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me,
I'm
bro.
Carmelo Bon Jovi. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and everywhere where you can hear podcasts. This is a bit too much.